Hello, dear listeners. I'm your host, Genevieve Hopkins, and welcome to episode 20 of the Wheel and Cross podcast. Halloween is an increasingly popular celebration in the Southern Hemisphere, with spooky costumes, Halloween-themed decorations, and trick-or-treating supplies emerging in stores from September. Celebrating Halloween at this time of year is seasonally appropriate for the Northern Hemisphere. Modern Halloween celebrations evolved from the ancient Celtic celebration of Samhain, the midpoint between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice, marking the end of the harvest and the coming of winter. Halloween icons such as the harvest moon, pumpkins, apples, black cats, and spooky decorations and costumes reflect a profoundly autumnal theme. However, in the Southern Hemisphere, the 31st of October occurs between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. At this time of year, the Southern Hemisphere is actually celebrating Beltane, which marks the end of winter and the start of summer according to Celtic and Germanic calendars. It was believed that the veil between the real world and the world of magic, the Fae, the Sheed or the Aushi, was thinnest at this time of year, even more so than during Samhain. Beltane was and is still celebrated across Europe in the Celtic, Germanic, Scandinavian, Romani and Slavic cultures, with similar traditions, albeit different names. These traditions include balefires or bonfires, dancing around a maypole, going a-maying, picnics in forests or meadows, bathing in dew, visiting natural springs, cutting a May bush, making flower wreaths, and other traditions that celebrate spring, fertility, sexuality, and the blossoming of life. Over the next 4 weeks, in the lead up to Beltane, we will explore different aspects of Beltane's celebrations, traditions, and folklore. We'll also explore the colourful Latin American Day of the Dead celebrations, and how I personally like to celebrate this time of year. In the meantime, let's explore the German tradition of Walpurgis Night. This podcast is free, but if you like my work and would like to support me so that I can continue doing it, please consider a paid subscription on the Wheel and Cross Substack page, www.wheelandcross.substack.com. If that is not possible, and you enjoy this podcast, I would really appreciate your reviews on any of the podcasting platforms you use. Feel free to share this podcast and leave comments on the podcast page. Welcome to episode 20 of the Wheel and Cross podcast, Beltane vs. Halloween and Walpurgis Night. As always, I would like to acknowledge the custodians of these lands on which I work and live in Australia's capital region, the lands of the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people, and I pay my deep respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and to all First Nations across Australia. Walpurgis Night, also known as Walpurgis Nacht or Hexenacht, Witches' Night, is a traditional spring festival celebrated in parts of northern and central Europe, particularly in Germany, Sweden, Finland, and the Czech Republic. The celebration takes place on the night of April 30th and continues into May 1st, marking the transition from winter to spring in a similar manner to the Celtic celebration of Beltane. Walpurgisnacht has its roots in both pagan and Christian traditions. It's named after Saint Walpurga, also known as Walburga or Valborg, an 8th century English missionary who was canonized on May 1st in 870 AD for her significant role in spreading Christianity throughout the region. She was born in Devon, England, and was the daughter of Saint Richard the Pilgrim. Walpurga studied medicine and travelled to what is now Germany, where she established a monastery in Heidenheim and became its abbess. The connection between Saint Walpurga and witches is primarily due to the timing of her feast day, which falls on May 1st, coinciding with the celebration of Walpurgis Night. In European folklore, especially in Germany, Walpurgis Night is associated with witches, witchcraft, and other supernatural occurrences. This association is not because of anything Saint Walpurga did, but rather because her feast day was already celebrated during a time when pagan traditions and superstitions relating to witches and the arrival of spring were prevalent. In medieval and early modern Europe, people believed that on the night of April 30th, witches and other supernatural beings would gather on the Brocken, the highest peak of the Harz Mountains in Germany, to hold wild revelries and engage in various magical rituals. People would light bonfires, make noise, and dress in costumes and masks to ward off the supposed malevolent forces associated with the night. Over time, Saint Walpurga's feast day became intertwined with these pagan and folk traditions, and she came to be seen as a protector against witches and evil spirits. Today, Walpurgisnacht is celebrated with various festivities, including bonfires, music, dancing, and feasting. In Germany, it's a particularly popular celebration, with many towns and villages holding outdoor gatherings, often featuring live music performances and the burning of a symbolic witch effigy atop a bonfire. People also dress up in costumes and masks, continuing the tradition of warding off evil spirits. In next week's episode, we will explore the history and traditions of the sacred Beltane bale or bonfires. In the meantime, may you enjoy a blossom-filled week, and may your Beltane witches, as Arundhati Roy says, wear flowers in their hair and magic secrets in their eyes. See you next week for episode 21, Beltane, Lighting the Balefires.